Good afternoon, everybody. Education policy in the Senate. We have quorum. We have 4 bills today. Senator Kunesh will be leading us with Senate File 2998, and this bill will be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. Senator Kunesh, do you have an amendment?
I do. It is the A1. And basically what it does is it just deletes Section 2 of Senate File 2998, as we had already passed that piece of legislation last session.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the author amendment say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Begin, Senator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and members. Today I bring before you an opportunity for the legislature to allow smudging in our schools. A couple years ago, St. Paul, I believe it was in 2022, I had the privilege and honor to join St. Paul Public Schools when they passed a resolution unanimously to allow smudging in their school. And for those of you who don't know what smudging is, it is a rather sacred cultural practice of our indigenous people across this continent, and it is a form of cleansing. It's a cultural centering practice, and it has been proven time and time again that when students are involved in their cultural practices and they're allowed to do the things that they have been prohibited from, there are very, very positive outcomes. I don't know if you all know that it's been illegal for our American Indian people to practice their culture, their religion, their sacred practices until 1978. Up until 1978, it was illegal to hold ceremonies, it was illegal to smudge, it was illegal to do any of those things. And it took President Jimmy Carter to pass the American Indian Religious Act before it was actually legal to do this kind of practice. So for many, our ancestors were forbidden to practice any part of our cultures, and this has included smudging. So today I am asking for permission for schools to give permission for students or staff members to use tobacco, sage, sweetgrass, or cedar to conduct individual or group smudging in public schools. And of course, we would expect the schools to find a safe place under the proper guidance and supervision. I did bring for all of you an example. I don't have one for each of you, but you know, to smudge is basically to take a shell and put in either sage, such as this, or tobacco or cedar, very small amounts. It's not like when you go to some churches and they load it up with incense and, you know, kind of overcome you with the smoke and that sort of thing. And there's a whole ritual that goes along with this. Many folks will do this to help with their anxiety, to center them in what they need to do or what they've gone through, to cleanse an area. And so we would like to provide this opportunity for our students to have a space and have the opportunity to go through this really sacred ceremony or practice when they're in school under the right supervision in the place that the schools have determined is best. And with that, Mr. Chair, we do have a few testifiers here.
The testifiers could come up. Beth Tupper, sorry. And Kaylani Lawrence would be the next speaker. And identify yourself and make sure you sign in the record of your visit here. Thank you for your testimony.
You can testify first.
Chair Cwodzinski and members, Hao Matakiapi, Yahipinki Washte, Lakota Ia Chante Washtewi Imakiapie. My name is Beth Tepper, and my Lakota name is Good-Hearted Woman. I'm an enrolled member of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. I also work for Robbinsdale Area Schools as the Director of Achievement and Integration. I'm proud to be here today as the Vice Chair of the Tribal Nations Education Committee and Metro Area Schools Representative. At this time, I would also like to recognize the work that St. Paul Public School students have done under the leadership of the now late John Bobolink. He created a path for others to follow with their smudging policy. Their work helped me in Robbinsdale area schools to follow suit, in addition to other school districts. We have nearly 30,000 American Indian students in the state of Minnesota who will benefit from smudging as a practice, as this needs to be allowed in our public schools. Our students sometimes live far away from their tribal nations and attend metro area schools, where our cultural traditions are being practiced and supported by Indian education programs with guidance from our American Indian Parent Advisory Committees. When students, families, and staff are able to smudge with our sacred plant medicines of sage, sweetgrass, cedar, and tobacco, it allows us to keep honored ceremonial practices in our schools. We need this to help keep us centered. Our mind, our body, our spirits need to be in balance so we can do things in a good way. In the area of special education, I am also advocating for smudging to be included in individualized education plans, or IEPs. Sometimes there can be a lag of service for our students allowing this accommodation, as districts without smudging policies have been putting families on hold until they figure it all out. Students, staff should not have to go outside to smudge. Doing so sends a message that this isn't a culturally inclusive practice. To think it was actually illegal for us to practice our religion until 1978. We are not just a protected class, we hold political status within the state of Minnesota as citizens of our tribal nations. We want our public schools across the state of Minnesota to have culturally affirming spaces and practices for our American Indian students and families. I also strongly believe this work cannot be done without the inclusion of our American Indian staff and our American Indian Parent Advisory Committees, which need to be included in the process. Adding this smudging policy will help our schools who may not have their own in place. Personally, this affects me also as a parent of a student. My son, Aiden, attends high school in Burnsville. He will be a senior next year. I would love for him to have the opportunity to smudge freely in his school before he graduates. Thank you for your time and consideration. Pidamia Miigwech.
Thank you. Kaylani Lawrence. Are they virtual by chance? Emily Belen Vinueza. Michael Perez.
Mr. Chair, I think they were all coming with Ms. Nash, Suzanne Nash, and I don't know that they are here right now.
So Ms. Nash is not here either.
I don't see her out there. Perhaps if they do attend, we can revisit this and hear from them before the end of our committee hearing?
So do we put this on hold?
No, we can continue, but maybe give them the opportunity to speak at the end of our committee hearing,
Okay, so we'll lay over the bill.
okay?
Mr. Chair, are we going to discuss it?
Sure, of course. How can we dismiss your wonderful discussion skills? I'm sorry, I
Thank
didn't
you,
look to my
Mr.
right.
Chair. I appreciate the idea that my discussions are wonderful. I know I enjoy sitting, I consider sitting here at the table another wonderful thing. So,
Senator Abler, you have the
Thank you.
floor.
well, thank you. Senator Kunesh, I am unaware of this until I read the bill and found that kind of interesting. So there's a spiritual connection to this, is that correct?
Very much so.
All right. And if I'm anything, I'm a champion of religious and spiritual freedom everywhere. And so I'm happy to support your bill. I don't know where they would do it or all that, but I also just want to raise another thought. There are some students in schools who might be Muslim or might be Christian, might be Buddhist, and they may also want to express some of their faith matters. And other matters of faith have come up over the course of this year, this last 2 years, that I think just warrant equal respect and attentiveness. And so sometimes that hasn't been the case. And so if I can encourage people as we go forward with this, that we'd also be aware that others who might be interested, and some might, I don't know if anybody's offended by this. Maybe they would be, I just don't know, but they would be taken into consideration as well as this group would act out its things. I know that, sometimes prayer meetings at school have been allowed and sometimes they've not been allowed. And so I hope that as we go forward with this openness toward that we can be consistent. So, and I want to thank you for bringing it forward. Thank you very much.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, and I agree with you. I think we do have to be respectful of the broad array of cultures and practices of our students. It wasn't so long ago that we asked for space for our Muslim students to be able to pray throughout the day, and I think we passed that. So I think, this is more of we're asking the schools to allow this, more permissive, and we would ask, I guess I would ask that the schools look to the best interests of our students. So I think when we allow something for one doesn't mean we're disallowing for others. And it does look like more of our testifiers have arrived. Thank you.
Any other senators care to weigh in before we hear from the students? Or are these? Hey. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Kalani Lawrence and Emily Belen Venueza, if you could come up and identify yourself for the record and make sure you sign in.
Bonjour, Kailani Indigenous. Hello, everyone. My name is Kailani Lawrence. I'm 15. I'm from Standing Rock and Red Lake, and I go to Roosevelt High School. I think smudging in schools should be allowed because we should be able to practice our culture in schools. I remember when I was in middle school, they made us go outside to smudge. Otherwise, we weren't able to do it at all because they thought we were smoking weed. And even now in high school, we still don't smudge a lot for that reason. And if we do, we have to be cautious about it because they think it's a bad thing, but it's not. It's our medicine. Miigwech.
Bonjour, Emily Indigenous. I'm 15 years old and I'm from Lower Sioux. We smudge to help cleanse ourselves, get rid of the negative and bad energy and spirits. Sage is one of our 4 medicines. We also do it to be more connected to our cultural teachings. I like smudging because it makes me feel more connected to my culture and helps with my mental health. We should be allowed to smudge because this is part of our culture. Miigwech.
Thank you both. Michael Perez? Thank you for that. It's a very nice gesture. You're up.
Okay. Bonjour, Bescoin Dizinakaz. Hello, my name is Michael. My spirit name is Michael. I'm 13. I'm from Leech Lake, and I'm Guatemalan. Kids and teachers should be able to smudge because it is sacred and one of our 4 medicines. We use it to cleanse ourselves and calm down. More smudging. It has been used for ceremonies and put in our medicine pouches. It has been used for years and years. It wards off evil spirits and helps protect our people. When we smudge in a classroom, in the morning or the afternoon, it is always nice to do and everyone calms down. The class is quiet. This is my reason why we should not get rid of smudging in classrooms. Miigwech. Miigwech.
Thank you. And last on my list is Susan Nash.
Bonjour, Niansen, Dishikaz, Magazine, Dodom. What I said to you is hello in my language. My name is Suzanne Nash, and my Indian name is, spirit name means Neons, which means the brown bird that survives the winter. Tobacco was the gift that was given to us for medicine and offering in prayers, the same way the wafer and wine was given for Catholics for prayer. So that's what we used before it was colonized, and we still use it today for those purposes. And smudging is also another way for us to deal with negative energy, anxiety, to clear the air before we start meetings, before we start school, before we start prayers. And all the gifts that they were given to you today, the tobacco pouches, were smudged off before you got them when I brought them today. So when we do something or we ask somebody for something or an elder or somebody, we offer them the tobacco tie. And we ask them that is, I'm asking you to do something for me. So I'm offering this prayer for you. So thank you, and I hope that we will, be able to do this. I work at Northeast Middle School. Quarterly, I go help out there. We do tobacco ceremonies in group, and we offer our prayers. And, we talk about commercial tobacco as not the same as traditional tobacco, and that we use it in a special way. So it's changing their relationship so they will not smoke. It's that prevention, culture is prevention, and that's how we use it. So I'm grateful to be able to be here today to ask you to vote for smudging in our schools. Miigwech.
Thank you. Any senators care to?
So I do believe that Mr. Rowe is here as well. He made it.
Great.
So I just sent them down to get him, so.
Vern Rowe? Great. Take yourself down. Identify yourself. Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry for my tardiness. Middle school principal, so. Okay.
Well, I'll try to be more lenient than I hope you are.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vernon Raw. I'm the principal at Northeast Middle School. I am honored to be here today to speak on, the things that we do with smudging in our school, because it's actually a way in which we just start off the day with our students. All students are welcome to the smudging process. They come in and they, when they come in off of their buses or they get dropped off, we really do the smudging because it actually just starts, it sets the atmosphere for school. it's a peaceful, solution. And truly, with us being a native pathway school, we want to make sure that we adopt some of those cultural things that actually our kids can identify with. And then it also is about us teaching other kids that may not have those backgrounds how to become more diverse and well-rounded in terms of being those citizens that we want them to be. So we've been a pathway school for the last 7 years for middle school, and we service Native students that live on the north side of Minneapolis, as well as on the northeast side, and a portion of southeast. So we have probably like around close to 60 identified Native students, and the other students that we do service as well that haven't been identified is just because they haven't filled out the 506 form, which actually gives them the identity for being Native. And what we've actually seen, you all, is that just starting off peaceful that way, it creates an atmosphere in our building that is rewarding. We do it every morning, and then our kids also take Ojibwe as a language for our Native students as well. So we're just seeing some positive things that are actually, setting trends and things, and then also respecting cultures and communities. And that's what we want to teach our kids. We want them to be upstanding citizens, that they're well-rounded, they understand their responsibility, and understanding that responsibility, they also have the voice to be able to make sure that they can bring forth effective change, which we know in many of our cultures and many of our societies, we need to see those things. So I want to make sure that I was here to speak to those things, and I thank Suzanne for inviting me to be able to, to speak on the positive things. And I welcome you all to come out, and you can be a part of that as well, where you can see what it does for a school community. Thank you.
Thank you. And as my wife would always remind me, there's a special place in heaven for middle school educators. So.
I hope I get there.
Yeah. Well, Senators, any comments, questions? Thank you, especially the young people that took time out of school to come down today. We love hearing how the decisions we make here and don't make here impact your lives. And it's a nice reminder to us that you take time to come down and see us. And when Senator Kunesh and I were kids growing up, our teachers would tell us when you got off at Ellis Island, you joined the melting pot and you became an American, and you gave up your heritage and your culture and your beliefs and your family history to become an American. And when I started teaching, something didn't seem right about teaching my students about this concept called the melting pot, because it seems so foreign to giving up our ideals and our beliefs and everything that makes us unique. And so I started calling, I'll never forget the time I made them cross out in their books, and at first they didn't want to do it because to write in the textbook was sacrilegious, and I said, it's okay, no one will find out. And I told them to cross out the word melting pot in their textbooks and replace it with the word salad bowl. That you come to, not that you came, but I mean, we all came here at some point, and to ask to give up your uniqueness is a tragic part of our history. And so thank you all for testifying and what you brought to the table. And Senator Kunesh, I continually am amazed by your efforts on all things trying to make our schools more inclusive. So,
Thank you.
Any final comments?
No, I thank you all for listening carefully and intently, and would ask for your support for this Senate File 2998 and to be included in the inclusion of your omnibus bill.
Thank you. Next up, Senator Gustafson, Senate File 3540. This bill will also be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. And whenever you're ready, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Senate File 3450 builds upon bipartisan work that has gone into improving the Minnesota charter school law since its inception in 1991. Legislators have worked with schools and other important stakeholders over the years to strengthen the law by the goal of serving our public school students at the highest level. This bill was written in consultation and collaboration with stakeholders to address many of the issues charter schools have asked for clarity on, to address issues that have arisen through mistakes or gaps in our accountability structures that have created problems for school communities, and to be proactive on possible issues that may come up in the future. In short, Senate File 3450 encompasses the important steps in accountability and transparency to improve upon the charter school law. Here's what the bill does. 1, it clarifies legal definitions such as conflict of interest issues, board of eligibility for teachers, and anti-nepotism policies. 2, it enhances chartered public school board governance by strengthening training requirements in important areas such as with the oversight of academic student success and achievement and oversight of the school financial management. It also strengthens charter school board conflict of interest provisions and changes board terms of office to better match the school calendar starting in July 1st. It also clarifies and enhances professional development requirements for school administrators. This bill requires training for new licensed administrators on relevant areas to charters, such as charter school law and requirements, board management, charter contracts, authorizer relationships. This bill requires yearly training for unlicensed administrators on essential areas such as instruction and assessment, financial management, and state accounting. And finally, it clarifies the role of authorizers and MDE in the accountability process. This bill outlines the role of authorizers more clearly in statute. It strengthens language on the authorizer accountability review process, and it strengthens transparency requirements in the process. It also strengthens authorizer conflict of interest policies, such as prohibiting a charter school employee or board member from serving on the board of the school's authorizer. The point of this bill is to help provide improved guidance and clarity for chartered public school leaders, boards, and authorizers in strengthening accountability with this sector. With over 180 chartered public schools operating in Minnesota, the continued maintenance and improvement of the charter school law is essential to sustaining a healthy sector that serves our public school students innovatively and effectively. I'd like to point out right now that this is a bipartisan bill, and I thank Senators Mann and Coleman and Abler in joining with me on this bill. And I would like to yield my time to the bill testifiers, if that's all right with you, Mr. Chair.
Joey Chenyan, identify yourself. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair Cwodzinski. I'm Joey Chenyan. I am the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of Charter Schools. And thank you, members of the committee, for hearing this bill today. And thank you for this opportunity to speak today. Minnesota chartered public schools are tuition-free, independent public schools that are open and welcome to all students, no matter ability or need, and are governed and operated jointly by licensed teachers, parents, and community members. This bill, SF 3450, presented before you today, encompasses what we see as the important next steps in accountability and transparency to improve upon Minnesota's charter school law. We have worked on this bill consulting with schools and many important stakeholders in our sector to proactively strengthen the law and in turn continue to strengthen our schools so they have the appropriate guidance and training to continue to effectively govern and serve their students, families, and communities at the highest level. Today we'll highlight 3 areas of the bill that work to strengthen accountability and transparency. First, this bill clarifies and enhances professional development requirements for charter school administrators. Based on internal calculations at my organization, over the past 5 years, there have been over 100 school director turnovers in Minnesota chartered public schools. That's a turnover rate estimated at about 10.8% a year. Many folks stepping into new administrative roles come from traditional districts. They're either former principals or superintendents. And many are unlicensed professionals that come from other fields or expertise, such as teachers, business, or nonprofit community leaders. Considering recent turnover rates and the diversity of school leadership experiences, improved and expansive training requirements and statute will help our school leaders be successful. This bill requires yearly training for unlicensed administrators on important things such as instruction and assessment, financial management, or special education law. And it requires training for new licensed administrators in their first year on unique areas to working in charter schools. This bill also enhances charter public school board governance by enhancing board training requirements, amongst other changes, such as strengthening conflict of interest provisions. And finally, this bill clarifies the roles of authorizers in statute. Authorizers have an extremely important role in the accountability structure for chartered public schools as they conduct monitoring, oversight, and evaluation of academic, operational, and financial performance in the contracts they oversee. This bill outlines their role more clearly in statute and strengthens language on the authorizer accountability review process with MDE. This bill also strengthens conflict of interest requirements. And it strengthens transparency as it requires findings from the performance review process to be shared with the schools that they authorize. It requires training of authorizer staff on the role and responsibilities of authorizers to be documented. And it requires the school termination hearings to be recorded, preserved, and made public. We've worked on this bill with multiple authorizers on negotiations on the language of this bill. They are not opposed to the language in this bill. Strengthening accountability structures, enhancing clarity and transparency in statutory requirements, and continuing to strengthen conflict of interest protections will help all of Minnesota's chartered public schools continue to successfully carry out the important purpose of chartering. We encourage you to please pass this bill, SF 3450, which we call the next steps of accountability for chartered public schools in Minnesota, to continue to strengthen Minnesota's chartered public school law. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And I do believe our next three speakers are all virtual. So we're going in the order of Dr. Brett Wedlin, Dr. Meg Cavalier, and Alyssa Rafa.
Chair Cwodzinski and esteemed members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to testify today. I'm Dr. Brett Wedlin, and I bring over 2 decades of experience in public education. For the past 5 years, I've served as the executive director at Nova Classical Academy in St. Paul, where we serve over 1,000 K-12 students. Our recent achievements speak volumes. Nova Classical has proficiency rates in reading and math that are ranked within the top 5 among all traditional school districts and charter schools in Minnesota. We've been honored with the National Blue Ribbon Award and recognized as an exemplary achievement gap closing school. In 2023, we were the sole recipient of this designation in Minnesota. Throughout my 10 years in charter school leadership, I've observed a crucial link between effective governance from the school board and the overall success of the school. Nova Classical's consistent governance has been instrumental in us being able to maintain a clear vision and achieve our high levels of academic achievement. However, navigating the complexity of charter school governance presents unique challenges, particularly regarding the composition of the board and members' roles. Charter school boards are mandated by state laws to include teachers, parents, and community representatives. Often this results in a teacher majority board. To ensure the success of these boards and the schools they oversee, it's imperative that members swiftly adapt to their roles as trustees for the whole school rather than as mere delegates of stakeholder groups. That's why I wholeheartedly endorse Senate File 3450. This legislation mandates comprehensive training for new charter school board members covering their roles, open meeting law, and data practices before they start their duties. Additionally, it mandates ongoing training throughout their first year, focusing on policies, fiscal oversight, and student achievement. It also contains wording to ensure that the training received in these areas is provided by quality providers. As the leader of a successful charter school where we have worked diligently to develop a highly effective governing body, I firmly advocate for this legislation. It seeks to fortify oversight of charter schools and elevate the entire charter school movement. Thank you for considering this important matter.
Thank you. Dr. Cavalier.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Meg Cavalier. I'm a licensed teacher, principal, and superintendent. I served as the executive director for 16 years at St. Paul City School, just a block west of the Capitol at University Avenue. St. Paul City School is in its 25th year and currently serves just over 600 students. When compared with the state averages, the school serves a higher percentage of those who speak more than one language and those who qualify for free or reduced meals. Last month, I transitioned to the role of Chief Network Officer for Collaborative Student Transportation, a national organization located in Northeast Minneapolis committed to providing safe and reliable special education and McKinney-Vento transportation. I continue to support charter schools in an advisement capacity. My formal training through a licensure program had a direct impact on my ability to meet the unique needs of a charter school. As a mentor of mine shared, a charter school leader is running a school and a small business. Minnesota state law does not require an administrative license for charter school leaders. I fully support this approach. However, there must be consistent professional development provided to leaders to ensure the health of charter schools and increase the retention of school leaders. In the last 5 years, 43% of Minnesota charter schools have seen at least one director turnover. According to Buckman 2021, school leaders play a vital role in the educational environment. Studies have shown that schools with principal turnover show a decrease in student achievement, poor school climate and culture, and lower graduation rates. There's also a financial cost associated with leader replacement and a negative impact on teacher turnover. As you know, school finance is complex. This is compounded in smaller schools. Charter school leaders often function as principal, superintendent, and business manager. It's a tough job to do well. The high turnover in the role limits a person's ability to gain experience. There have been several instances where my formal training via the licensure program and the professional development that I independently sought helped me grow as a charter school leader. There are many internal and external factors that have a significant impact on school finance and cash flow, such as enrollment, flow of funds from the state, and demographics, to only name a few. Consistent professional development will ensure that all school leaders have access and are accountable to best practices, and this should not be something that is learned on the job. So in closing, I fully suggest the revisions included today to include trainings for charter school leaders in the areas of instruction and assessment, curriculum design, human resource and personnel management, professional ethics, child development, financial management, legal and compliance management, special education oversight, contract management, effective communication, cultural competency, board and authorizer relationships, parent relationships, and community partners. Thank you for your consideration and time this afternoon.
Thank you. And the last testifier on my list is Alyssa Raffa.
Thank you. Chair Cwodzinski, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify about the charter school administrator provisions in Senate File 3450. My name is Alyssa Raffa. I'm the Executive Director of Minnesota Online High School, which we call Minnows, a public charter school now in its 19th year of operation. I became licensed in Minnesota as a high school science teacher in 1984. The first 20 years of my career were in 2 large district alternative programs, both of which gave me the opportunity to develop as a leader. In 2004, 3 colleagues and I founded Minnows, where I started as academic director. In 2008, I enrolled in a Master of Education program at Bemidji State University, and through that program did the coursework required to add a district superintendent endorsement to my license. This filled in some of the gaps in my qualifications, especially in the areas of assessment, human resource management, and financial management. In 2012, the executive director of Minnows resigned, and I felt well equipped to accept the position. Since then, I've mostly relied on and sought out myself the Minnesota Department of Education, the Minnesota Association of Charter Schools, and similar organizations for ongoing training and support. Since it was first passed, Minnesota's charter statute has created professional opportunities for teachers like me to innovate on behalf of students, and this is wonderful. Leaders of small to medium charters wear many hats and must develop knowledge and skills in many areas, some common to all school districts and some unique to chartering. I support the proposed new policy language on charter administration in this bill because it supports school leaders' success by requiring training and support and by establishing better accountability. At the same time, it makes room for many paths to success, depending on individual leaders' academic background, employment history, and skill set. It gives charter schools the important latitude to develop leaders from within or to hire those with more traditional training and make sure they understand about charter's unique needs. I encourage the committee to pass this bill to ensure effective school leadership for Minnesota's public charter school students. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Senators, any questions, comments? Senator Abler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was wonderful testimony. Anyway, wonderful is the day, the word of the day. And most of you know that back in 1994, two families of ours founded the Pack Charter School, and curiously enough, language is being repealed on line 1331 without holding a valid administrator's license came from me with the help of Senator Olson back in the time, and also the even funding that you enjoy compared to the district funding. That was the other thing we did as lay people. So if you're here long enough, Mr. Chair, all of your good work will be repealed. So that's how it, isn't that sad? Anyway, maybe just parts of it. And I support the bill because it comes from the groups, but I want to caution the groups. Charter schools, we were the 9th one and the first one in the second year of having them back then, were meant to be, in my mind, laboratories and kind of off the beaten path and bringing ideas into the general other public venues to see what we can do better as we experiment. I wish there was more of that. But I hope that as you, with this bill, which you wrote and you all thought about it, I'm far enough away not to be even worried about your details, and I like the tightening up of requirements, and you certainly evolved a lot, and it's not what it was, 30 years ago, Mr. Chair. Anyway, but I hope as you go forward, if you see some of these requirements on administrators and authorizers are burdensome, so you have a hard time getting an authorizer who's otherwise really qualified, or finding administrators who would be happy to be your administrator, that this is just a little much work. I don't know what competency-based means, but I mean, it's evolved a lot, and I'm happy to support charters in general. I think another place for students to go besides the regular traditional public school has been helpful to so many people. And Mr. Chair, just to point out that today, Pack Charter School of now Ramsey is going to be ribbon cutting its new high school. So how about that? Anyway, thank you to the authors and the charter school people, and keep up the good work, and thank you.
Senator McQuaid?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Gustafson, this might be for you, but it might be for somebody else. I have a question on the very first page, 1.8, 1.9, just the changing of the goal and purposes of charter schools. Will you just talk to me a little bit about the goal behind that section change?
Mr. Chair, if it's all right with you, I'll let my testifier respond.
Yeah, in this section, thank you, Senator, I appreciate it. Joey Chenyan, Executive Director of Minnesota Association of Charter Schools. In this section, what we're trying to do here is to really clarify in statute the goal and purposes of charter schools in a way that is not only clear, but also is connected to the charter contract that a school has with their authorizer. And so if you see here, there are multiple purposes of charter public schools, including increasing quality learning opportunity for all students, encouraging different and innovative teaching methods, measuring learning outcomes and create different innovative forms of measuring outcomes, establishing new forms of accountability for schools, and also creating new professional opportunities for teachers, including the opportunity to be responsible for the learning program at the school site. In this bill, the documentation of the implementation of those purposes will be a component of their authorizer performance review, because it's just such an important part of what makes Minnesota charter schools unique to think about these things, particularly the innovative spirit of a charter public school.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, this just might end up being for you, and that's totally fine. There were a lot of places where there was deletions, but then it showed up later in a section that was just more elaborate. I think the one that I didn't see, and it's okay if I missed it, is on line 3.7, 3.8, the authorizer must participate in department-approved training. Did that move anywhere else, or is that just a deletion?
Chair Cwodzinski and Senator McQuaid, thank you. That line was deleted, and we're currently in conversation with the department about the inclusion of that line again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, that's super helpful. And would you mind just saying a little bit more about what those conversations are like?
Yep, we've met multiple times with folks from the Minnesota Department of Education, amongst many other stakeholders on the language of this bill. And we're kind of having back and forth conversations about things in the bill that are great and some language areas that we're giving clarity to, and some things that down the road we may look at and say, in this process, we would, for example, in that line 3.7 to 3.8, we may re-include that as this moves through the process.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, yes, thank you. I think just candidly, I'd be interested to probably see it back in, but I like the rest of the articulation here, so I appreciate that, fleshing that out. And then this is a question that I don't think is contained in this bill necessarily, but it came up when I was reading the parts about the, Fair Dismissal Act. Under the Minnesota Human Rights Act 36.3.a, whatever, that applies to, the treatment of people and public education in particular. Do charter schools fall underneath that? Are they also required, not exempt? That was my last question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Senator Gustafson. It's rare that testifiers come before us asking for more accountability and more more oversight. So it's a breath of fresh air. So thank you for that, Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee members. I will just close by saying I worked at a charter school for over 3 years. I think just a little bit to address to, I believe it was the 3.7 line that you were talking about. I know that charter schools are part of what makes them wonderful and great options for other families is that they are usually very unique and sort of fill in a gap that might be missing. For instance, I taught at an online charter school, and for the students and the families there, that was a godsend. It's not for everybody, but for the families that choose to go there, it probably made, I know for certain as somebody who taught juniors and seniors, that was their last chance to get a diploma, or they weren't going to go back to school. And I think just when you're talking about training, and I'm glad that you're open to looking at that line again, I would just say that the training at my online charter school would look much different than the training at like a brick and mortar charter school. And so I think that some of that some of that autonomy of being able to spend time in the most efficient and useful way possible to the teaching staff and the admin is just by saying that charter schools sort of are a little bit more unique in their roles in our public education system, and just being able to address, what makes most sense to those schools. So that would be my closing comment, but thank you.
Okay, Senator Gustafson, we're laying this bill over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. Next up, Senator Kunesh again, Senate File 3746. Whenever you're ready.
Mr. Chair, I have before you the Health Education Academic Standards Bill, Senate File 3746. But before we begin, I have 2 amendments, please. I have the A1. That simply adds the Minnesota Youth Council to the group of folks that will have inputs on the standards.
All those in favor of the author's amendment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Second amendment.
Thank you. The second one rearranges some of the priorities and moves the mental health education into the area that is a requirement, and then it just has a spelling correction as well.
Okay. All those in favor of the A2 author's amendment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The bill is where you'd like it. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am so proud to be carrying this Senate File 3746, which will standardize our health education across the state. I'm going to give you a brief introduction of the bill, and then we'll ask the Senate Council to walk through the language. And we've already taken care of the amendments. This Senate File 3746 will standardize health education in Minnesota, which is really a crucial step towards ensuring that all students, regardless of their location, receive a consistent education related not only to their own health, but also the well-being of their family, their friends, and their community. This bill utilizes the rulemaking process, allowing for any and all interested parties to engage the Department of Education in the process. Currently, health education is only a required subject matter that is not standardized. Rulemaking will allow for a transparent process that will require the input and the buy-in of a variety of stakeholders. And these stakeholders are compiled into the Standards Committee, which participates in the rulemaking process. They include parents of school-aged children, teachers and faculty throughout the state, school board members, members of the Minnesota business community, representatives from the tribal nations, and now students, with the input of the Minnesota Youth Council. After the Standards Committee completes their recommendation, will be ample opportunity for public comment and consideration. Minnesota statute related to this matter specifically stipulates that the standards they create are clear and objective, and they do not require a certain teaching methodology. So simply put, the process of crafting this bill and carrying it toward eventual implementation is a process that is objective and transparent. It relies on important checks and balances while being open to the public at key junctures. I'd like to now invite Senate Council to walk through the bill.
Ms. Lewis?
Mr. Chair and members, Senate File 3746, page 1, section 1, puts health as one of the required standards and strikes the former requirement of a locally adopted expectation. Section 2 is, again, striking reference to the locally adopted health standards, and states that they, if you look at page 3, states that those locally adopted standards still apply until the end of the 2025-2026 school year, or until the statewide standards are adopted and ready for implementation statewide. Section 3 is the direction to the commissioner to have statewide standards, or to develop the statewide standards. Section, Section 4 does not seem to exist in my thing, is rulemaking. I think a lot of it was cut off, but it's rulemaking authority to develop the statewide standards in health. Section 5 adds the health standards to the revision and review cycle, which is a 10-year process for the required state standards. Then Section 6 is the high school graduation requirement, which would add credits to satisfy the state standards in health once those new standards are adopted. Then Section 7 is then what the commissioner needs to include for the rulemaking process as what things are required expectations, and then starting on page 7, line 11, then what are the optional expectations for learning. And then Section 8 is the appropriation for the commissioner for the rulemaking work.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Senator Kunesh?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Lewis, and thank you, Mr. Chair. So we all know that students in Minnesota have a right to an education that will enable them to understand and make well-informed decisions, not about their own well-being in their own life, but also from those around them. Mr. Chair, if it's okay, next to me I have Cynthia Bowerly. She's the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at the Women's Foundation of Minnesota. She's here to answer, she'll be here to speak and to answer questions and provide testimony. And then behind me, I have a number of other testifiers. So thank you, and I hope for your support.
Ms. Bowerly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Good morning. My name is Cynthia Bowerly. Good afternoon. I apologize. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at the Women's Foundation. Mr. Chair and members, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of Senate File 3746. We thank Senator Kunesh for carrying this bill. This bill will ensure that students across Minnesota will have the opportunity to learn what they need to grow up safe, healthy, and confident. The Women's Foundation of Minnesota is a 40-year-old statewide community foundation committed to advancing gender equity and supporting initiatives that allow women and girls to be healthy, successful, and safe. We believe that policy and programs should be built on data. That's why we conduct research every 2 years with the Humphrey School at the University of Minnesota to understand what's happening in Minnesota. And unfortunately, we know from research that students across Minnesota are facing a lot, including preventable negative health and safety outcomes. For example, research indicates that consistent health education is needed to address serious health concerns. Minnesota ninth grade girls, 60% report serious attempts at suicide, 34% among boys. 16% of 11th grade girls report sexual abuse. 1 in 2 LGBT plus students experience at least one form of discrimination, nearly doubled in 10 years. Teen girls are less likely to be physically active and participate in sports, essential to their health and well-being, than their male counterparts. The data in this report illustrates the need for a consistent health standard across the state of Minnesota to ensure that students have what they need to make healthy choices. And this health standard is needed to round out students' education that is already prescribed by statute. For nearly 10 years, we've had a requirement for students to have training on CPR and automatic defibrillator education, important life-saving education, which could also be terribly stressful if a student needed to use that training to help save a life. So let's give them the mental health information and education to help them deal with that stress and the anxiety of a situation where a life might hang in the balance as they assist with CPR or defibrillator, which they are required to be trained on. We also support this bill because it will use a rulemaking process where there is a lot of opportunity for public input. Students, parents, teachers, health professionals, and other interested parties can engage in a transparent process through the Department of Education and then through additional administrative process to create the recommended standard. Minnesota youth deserve accurate, age-appropriate, standardized health education that equips them with the knowledge and skills they need to make informed decisions about their bodies and health-related choices. With a statewide health standard, students across the state will have access to the comprehensive knowledge about issues that affect their daily lives. We urge you to pass this proposal and ensure students in Minnesota have access to education on health subjects that will allow them to live full and healthy lives. Thank you for your consideration.
Should we go through all the testifiers and then ask questions? Okay, thank you. Dr. Eileen Crespo, Hunter Beckstrom, and Darian Lofton are the three next speakers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Dr. Eileen Crespo. I have the honor of serving as president of the Minnesota chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. Our chapter represents over 1,000 pediatricians in the state. We advocate for the health, safety, and well-being of our patients, Minnesota's children. I'm here to testify in favor of Senate File 3746. This bill aims to improve the academic standards for Minnesota students to include elements necessary for a well-rounded health education. We are not doing a good job at preparing our children to live healthy, thriving lives. Kids today are facing multiple challenges to their mental and physical health, and the earlier that we can teach them about how to take care of their own health and well-being, the better. In my nearly 30 years working as a pediatrician in Minnesota, I've seen ever-increasing rates of mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, especially among children, young children, and adolescents, higher rates of eating disorders, childhood obesity, and diseases such as type 2 diabetes among school-aged children, as well as increased rates of bullying and exploitation. In the absence of valid health education, kids are turning to the internet and social media, which often can present them with methods of self-harm, unhealthy weight loss tips, and unrealistic body standards. Additionally, Minnesota's kids need to be educated about how to live a healthy life in the year 2024 and beyond. In a world filled with access to vaping and cannabis products marketed towards children, where every kid has multiple social media accounts, and where any child who's old enough to type can expose themselves to all of the information, including misinformation and open communication of the internet, we need to consciously do better by our kids by providing health education. This bill would help ensure children and families from every corner of the state will receive consistent education related not only to their own health, but to that of their family and the community. On behalf of the state's pediatricians, I'm grateful to Dr. Kunesh for bringing this bill forward, and I'd be happy to help answer any questions. And I hope Dr. Kunesh is okay. Thank you.
She is flattered by her new job title.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Cwodzinski and members of the committee. My name is Hunter Beckstrom, and I am a prevention program coordinator at the Minnesota Coalition Against Sexual Assault, or MNCASA. MNCASA's vision is that of a world free from sexual violence in which all human beings are treated with dignity and respect, and communities are transformed through safety, healing, and partnerships. Our vision is directly in line with the contents of this bill, and today we are demonstrating support for Senate File 3746. We want youth across the state of Minnesota to have access to education that provides the knowledge and skills to make informed decisions that will positively impact them throughout their lifespan. MNCASA has convened over 100 Minnesotans committed to this cause. The Health and Well-Being Education Standards Work Group is comprised of advocates, health educators, students, parents, and community members. This coalition of Minnesotans seeks to take actionable steps toward ensuring that all young people are equipped with the means to attain their highest levels of health. This work group includes both health experts and those who would be most impacted by these standards, students. It is imperative to listen to and uplift these voices and their experiences. MNCASA is dedicated to the primary prevention of violence. Primary prevention is taking steps to stop violence before it can occur. The implementation of such health standards would build foundational skills in effective communication, teachings of consent, and character development. These core strategies on primary prevention aim to eliminate risk factors and promote protective factors for Minnesotans. This bill would facilitate collective community efforts to prevent harm and center positive health outcomes. To fulfill a vision of a world free from sexual violence, transformative change is necessary. Senate File 3746 provides the opportunity to make crucial health improvements for all Minnesotans. A holistic approach to health education is essential to preventing harm and creating safer and thriving communities across the state. Thank you.
Thank you. And last on my list is Dorian Lofton. Welcome.
Thank you. Chair and members of the committee, I'm Darian Lofton. I'm a co-founder of a youth-led movement and organization called World Youth Connect, and I'm also a current St. Paul College student. with lots of unique experiences organizing and advocating for young people on issues of health and cannabis awareness with recreational cannabis bill passing this last legislative session. And I'm testifying today in support of SF 3746. It is vitally important for students to have consistency in their health curriculum in Minnesota, and it will give students a chance to help make healthy decisions throughout their lives. Creating the Cannabis Awareness Education Council for Youth has helped me understand how important it is for students, how important students' health is to them. We hosted a series of listening sessions around the state, mostly made of high school students, and we shared with them the issues around youth and cannabis. Since cannabis was legalized, there was a lot of decisions being made about young people in cannabis, but there were no youth involved at the decision-making table. A lot of young people were confused and felt like they should have been involved around decisions of youth and cannabis education, and we discussed curriculum such as DARE, that's still in use, and many students knew of it, and they were in sync as they shared that it didn't work from what they saw in their high school. Through these conversations, I educated them on cannabis and its effects on youth who use it at a young age, and many of them were shocked and didn't know much about it. There's so much disinformation or simply no critical information about drugs and alcohol. And young people were more engaged in these listening sessions because they were hearing the information from other young people, people who look like them. Sorry. Excuse me. Young people were more engaged in these listening sessions because they were hearing it from people that looked like them. And one student pulled me aside at the end of one of my listening sessions, and he thanked me, as well as shared a personal experience that he has had with cannabis, and told me he'd wish he'd known about the effects of cannabis before, and asked how he could stay connected to CAKE, the Cannabis Awareness Education Council. This legislation ensures that young people across the state will receive effective health education, ensuring that it is evidence-based and that it delivers the key health education that young people are hungry for. As a state, we need to be aware of how young people are learning about their own health and the health of their communities. I'm very supportive of the author's amendment incorporating current students into the standardization process. One of CAKE's key recommendations was to add youth to the state's Cannabis Advisory Council. There was a list of around 47 people and no youth representation. But it also makes sense to include them in designing the content standards. From our focus groups, it's clear that we need young people to share what they are seeing with their peers and in schools. This is the recommendation I thought to be most important because young people need to be at the table for all the conversations that impact them. Of all of our CAKE recommendations, adding young people to the advisory capacities is most critical. The same holds true to this amendment to include students to all standardized processes. Young people deserve to have a voice in their standardization process of their health curriculum, and I hope that you all vote to pass SF 3746 and include the author's amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, all testifiers. Members, questions, any observations? Senator Coleman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly appreciate the intent of the bill. I just want to express a little, where it makes me a little uneasy and a little nervous is when I first got into the legislature, we saw parents upset with some of the proposed social studies standards. And we saw them feel helpless because at a certain point there wasn't much we could do. And when they went before the board to express their frustration and concern, they were openly mocked by the people on that board. And so with this subject matter being arguably more sensitive, I would hate to see it taken out even further away from the parents and who they're picking for local control to make this type of curriculum. I would hate to see some sort of health standards get passed that pull even more students out of our schools because the parents are nervous about that subject matter. And so would just encourage us to maybe take another look at this and see if there's a way we can get across what we're hoping to get across, but leaving it in as much local control as possible. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Senator Riesenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess there's a word I didn't hear when we were speaking, that was abstinence. I hope that that's something we could maybe include or make sure that we're teaching that. We should be not promoting sex at a young age. We should say maybe you shouldn't be having sex, right? I think that's something we should talk about. So, thank you.
Senator Abler.
Wait my turn in line. Senator Kunesh, I like working with you. You came down, this is exciting, we really need this. I think I'm on the other side of that argument with you. I'm as unexcited about this as you are excited. And there's certainly some merits to this. I don't know, it seems like when I first got here back in we just talked about, charter schools and founding that as innovation, that school boards actually got to decide things, there was local discussions, and the people felt included in their decisions. The more we take things to the state level, I think it moves it away from that, and I think the comments from Senator Coleman in particular are important. And so rulemaking doesn't make me excited, and I appreciate all the points of view that were expressed, and I agree with a lot of them. But the process matters, and I think people are truly actually going to be, in some cases, driven away from the public schools again, which I don't know how many things people can take as we pile on ways to have them go. So I have a question for you, Senator Kunesh. We talked about in the last, the smudging bill, about how wonderful it can be that tribal students can express their spiritual beliefs through the smudging, and it was really nice that I got this from that person, so thank you very much for that, and maybe they left already, but that was kind of cool. But so let's say that the program gets all set up and there's some parents who just don't agree with parts of it based upon their religious beliefs. How is that going to be handled?
Senator.
Senator Abler, I think we all know that parents do have the option to opt their children out of certain lessons or programs that they are not comfortable with their children being in. When I first started teaching, I taught 6th grade in North Minneapolis, and I was on a team of 4 teachers in the 6th grade team. And I, as the newest one, was chosen to be the health teacher. And so we had a curriculum, we had a book, we had activities that went along with it, and we followed through that health book, and it taught about healthy choices for food, for exercise, how to speak with one another, so relationships. It also talked about how their bodies were changing. And when it came to that point, we were very specific in letting the parents know, and of course the curriculum was always available to the parents to review. And if the parents were uncomfortable with what we were going to be talking about, because it did include the reproductive organs and the process of reproduction, the parents were free to opt their children out. And in the 5 years that I did that, I did not have one parent opt their child out. I did not have one child that treated it disrespectfully. It was an incredible discussion. We talked about things I never thought I would talk to a classroom of 6th graders about. They had so many questions about how their body worked, how to abstain from sex, but if they were to ever become active, what were some of the ways to prevent different sexually transmitted disease? We had a jar that I kept out, and I said, you can put any question in that jar, and we will pull 2 questions a day and respond to those questions. And I've never seen that group of students, and remember, I had to do that with all 4 classes. So I've never seen a group of sixth graders so intrigued, so interested, so respectful, and so wanting answers and information. And there was homework. They had to go home and do things. Their parents knew what we were talking about. And at no time did I have a parent come in and say, I don't want my child to learn this. So in this day and age, when parents are oftentimes very, very, very much engaged in their students' school, the schoolwork, the subject matter, there always is that option for parents, if they are not comfortable with what their children are learning at that moment, to opt out.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Abler, of course.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So I appreciate that, and I think that I can imagine you teaching that, and I can imagine you being thoughtful and perhaps blushing once in a while or whatever. I'd be blushing a lot if I had to do that class. But I think the times are a bit different now. I think the experience of the families in, was it St. Louis Park, they were told that they could not have to go to these particular things, but there's been some pushback, and people are not going to be they're not going to be just told this. They have to dig and inquire, and there's even some move to have them. I just read the article. I was shocked about the pushback and the lack of freedom that these Muslims families were going to be given to be aware, because somebody besides them thought this needed to be given to their students, and especially given the current changes in sexuality curriculums, which has gone from this to like very large. I have to think that some people are going to be concerned about that, both at the rulemaking process and in terms of what they're going to do. So this is now a high-stakes standard. They can't graduate without it. So let's say a parent opts out to a third of the curriculum. Who's going to decide if what they're putting in place of it is going to be good enough to let them graduate? Or are we just going to check a box and then, I mean, I'm concerned about the high stakes, but also people are absolutely going to opt out, and they're going to want to know ahead of time what they maybe have to face on this particularly, sensitive topic.
Mm-hmm. I think that will all be part of the process. I can't tell you who's going to make those decisions right now, but it certainly will be part of the process.
Just one more question, Mr. Chair. And so Anoka District just recently settled their contract in the face of $6 billion that got spent. They gave the teachers a very generous contract, which was approved 5-0, which surprised me that it was a unanimous vote. But that puts our district in the hole over $20 million, and we're going to be actually laying off at least 200 people, many teachers and paras, and I don't know the exact count, but they're working on that because they made a contract. And so I've now taken on a new look at different things we're asking the districts to do, and you might see me asking this question. So assuming this goes forward, how many teachers would we have to take away from reading and math to do this, do you think? Is this going to require more staff? That's my question.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Who knows? This would become effective in, let me see, 2026 and 27. Excuse me. Where is that effective date? Okay. Here we go. Students who begin grade 9 and 24, 25 complete a course for credit and that's personal finance. So I don't know what the answer will be at that time. It's important to remember, and again, I was teaching, my last 5 years were at the middle school level, and a lot of this is already being taught, maybe in the FIED program, maybe in other areas. And so I guess it would really depend what's the size of your school, what's already available, and as this is implemented, what are the other needs. But we won't know until all of this is in place and the schools are able to have an idea of where they're going to put this.
Mr. Chair, just finally, thank you. But I hope that the Department of Education is listening to this conversation. I'm not here as some crazy person. I'm here as a person who listens to people. And I know that there's going to be some concerns by people who would otherwise love to be in the traditional public schools, not even charters, just happily going to Anoka or Spring Lake Park or wherever. And I think those voices are as relevant as any other voice that we heard today. And I hope that as the process goes forward, that the pitfalls I have raised are listened to, and you actually have a really quality, meaningful program that does everything you hope, Senator Kunesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Kunesh, I appreciate you bringing this forward. I think one thing to note for the record, for anybody listening, is that all of the standards that we're going to set statewide are already articulated in statute. And so all we're doing currently is that each district is figuring out what those standards are and then adopting curriculum to meet it. So the requirements have not changed, but the standards are all different. And that is what we're going to be creating standards uniform throughout the state. And it's on things like cannabis use and substance use education, which is really important, vaping awareness, STIs, mental health education, child sexual abuse prevention, which I think is super important, violence prevention education, character development, and then safe and supportive schools. This is vital education, and we can't pretend that that health curriculum isn't just as professionalized as math curriculum or as language arts curriculum. And so I think this is really important. When we don't give students information about a whole section that exists of learning, we do them a disservice. And so I'm very appreciative of this opportunity for us to make these standards statewide and have this for all students. And I think that when we substitute like sex ed for health, we're doing ourselves a disservice. That's not what health is, and that is not the topic of conversation in classrooms. I was just talking to my brother the other day, and he was like, "Oh, I'm eating like an apple," and I was like, "Oh, good. How many is that today?" And he's like, "I was like my apple for the week." And I was like, "For the week? We're supposed to eat 3 to 4 servings of fruit a day." You learned it in health, right? And that translates into adult life. But if we're not all learning those vitally important things about how many servings of food we're supposed to be eating or what it does to your brain or body when you smoke, when you drink, it makes it that much easier to fall into bad habits and unhealthy things and lose things like health throughout your life. So thank you so much for bringing this bill forward. And, I, as a parent, really hope the practice of telling our children when they should have sex, which is what abstinence-based sex education is, can stop happening. Because I think it's weird when adults tell children when they should be having sex, no matter when that is. So I hope that they will look at that and these standards too. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. I think Senator McQuaid pretty much summed up where my head's at as well. I would add gambling to the curriculum at some point, if we can sometime maybe take that offline. I got 2 comments and then a question, I think, for Ms. Bowerly, but I'll save that for last because it's more of a question for me than anything. But I was astounded when I found out there was no statewide health curriculum. I was just flabbergasted. I just had no idea that there was no statewide format on this. So when I was in high school, it's no surprise, but the only health class I had to have to graduate was called Boys Foods. Boys Foods, yeah, that's my health class in high school. Yeah, the culminating activity was I had to make a steak and a potato, and I don't know what grade I got, but it certainly didn't prepare me for all the things that one of the testifiers used the phrase "a holistic child" and not creating, but a curriculum that reflects the developing child into a great citizen, and that holistic child needs a class like this one that would help them, maybe perhaps save a life someday, if that's the one thing a kid gets out of a standardized health class is maybe they use a defibrillator on a child or an adult and saves that person's life. But I do have 2 questions quick. One I should know the answer to, and I apologize, but on line 3.7, it doesn't give a number. And I know the social studies standards, was there 40 people on that committee, or some number like that? Is there any number to line 37? I mean, it just lists all the groups. Does anybody know the answer to that? And while you're looking for that, and maybe there is no number, it's just up to these groups that are going to be set up, but I applaud whoever, and this is to you, Senator Kunesh, whoever included the youth council onto that list. That's a nice addition. But anybody know the answer to?
I think that is to be determined.
Okay. And then lastly, for Ms. Bowerly, 25 people. Okay, thank you, whoever just sent that. The organization you're with, is there ever been talk or research or anything, and this is more just where my head's at, that the health class would be divided based on gender? Is that ever come up, or is that a ridiculous question, or is there research that says kids are just more comfortable in a health class with people that are their gender? Or while you were testifying, that thought popped in my head.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me just say you've come a long way from boys' food class to authoring.
My wife would disagree.
Authoring, but no, we greatly appreciated and supported your work to menstrual products in schools, so I will just thank you for that. We don't have any research on that. The research that we did share with you, and we can share more with you, is about the differences that different student populations in Minnesota experience when it comes to a number of these health-related topics. I will just, sounds like you did have boys' food, so I imagine maybe there was a girls' food class, but I also to be truly representative of students in Minnesota, I think we would caution against the idea of a binary gender differentiation for students to make sure that we are being as inclusive as possible. And I don't know whether research would bear out the idea that we would segregate students in any such way.
More just a thought. It wasn't really an intellectual inquiry, but your answer quite was, so thank you for that.
Mr. Chair, I can tell you that when I taught that class for 5 years, it was always a mixed gender, and nobody ever had a problem. And one of the really incredible things and the biggest learning is when kids learn from each other. And they, somebody might be afraid to ask a question, but their classmate asks that question, and now they have that answer. Or there were questions or discussions that never entered that student's mind, and we were able to discuss it. And so I felt that there was really not a necessity to divide by gender for whatever reason. Folks need to know about each other's bodies, how each other's bodies work, how to be respectful, how to care for themselves and others. And so I would not be one person. I would be somebody who would not promote that kind of division. But I know there are groups that are more comfortable, and that would be a decision at that place.
All right. Final remarks, Senator Kunesh.
Just thank you all for listening and learning about this. I think it is important that we put this health education into the roundtable of standards and curriculum, that we are constantly looking at it and making sure that our students have all the information that they have to be happy and healthy individuals in our society. So thank you.
So the bill, Senate File 3746, will be referred to state and local government veterans. All those in favor of sending the bill to that committee, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. The ayes have it. Thank you. The last bill today is testimony only on the Senate File 3567, and we have 4 testifiers. First up is Matt Shaver, Tanya Prince, Ivana Stark, and Caitlin Snyder. That's who signed up. You guys know the routine, but identify yourself and make sure you sign in. Mr. Shaver, you're up.
Chair Cwodzinski, members of the committee, good afternoon. I'm Matt Shaver, Policy Director at Ed Allies. I want to thank you, Chair, for carrying the governor's policy bill and for opening up an opportunity to provide public comment. We support the proposed tweaks to the READ Act in the bill and know that these will supplement the ongoing work among stakeholders on READ Act 2.0 to ensure all students have access to structured literacy. Looking at the licensure proposals here, on May 17th, 2023, the Federal Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP, sent a non-compliance notice to Commissioner Jett identifying that Minnesota's Tier 1 special education license law was out of compliance with IDEA because our licensure law allowed someone to hold a Tier 1 SPED license for more than 3 years, something that 17 total people in Minnesota have ever done. The Department of Education, our department, returned a corrective action plan to OSEP on July 17th, committing to limit the number of years someone can hold a Tier 1 SPED license to 3 years in order to fully be in compliance with IDEA. Our organization supports that change, which is included in this bill on line 26.11. However, we have questions and concerns about making changes to Tier 2 license requirements as proposed beginning on line 27.17, as OSEP did not mention Tier 2 in their memo to our state regarding our licensure laws, and I don't think it's because they forgot to look or didn't understand our tiered licensure system. Additionally, MDE's corrective action plan submitted to OSEP does not propose making changes to Tier 2. I personally participated in conversations with OSEP and MDE over the summer and into the fall on this matter and was assured by all parties that this issue was confined to Tier 1, with that being the only area in licensure that needed to be addressed. The federal agency charged with holding our state accountable to IDEA said Tier 1 is out of compliance, but not Tier 2, and yet we're seeing a proposal to change Tier 2. It's unnecessary and has the potential to become a barrier for teachers in our licensure area with the greatest staffing needs. To be clear, we can bring our licensure law, our system, into compliance with IDEA without exacerbating teacher shortages or creating additional barriers or hoops in our licensure system. Next, we have concerns about pushing back public data reporting on the MCAs by 4 months. MDE does a fantastic job of meeting the current law, which requires reporting on student outcomes before the start of the school year. So we ask, what problem does this solve and what is lost to families, the public, and schools by delaying? Finally, going back to 2021 Senate File 788, Governor Walz has sought to limit the use of prone restraint on children in public schools by all adults, including school resource officers. As we are all aware, that provision finally passed last year, and it's been said that there is a need for clarity in the law. So it is disappointing to not see language from Governor Walz in this bill that both clarifies and maintains the spirit and intent of last year's law to limit the use of prone in schools other than in situations involving imminent bodily harm or death. It's not like prone restraint has gotten safer for children since 2021, so why are we abandoning such a clearly student-centered position? I want to thank you all for your time today and the opportunity to testify and for your public service to our state.
Thank you. Tanya Prince. 4. We have 4 testifiers. We'll have questions when all 4 have spoken.
Hello, before I start, I'd like to let you know that I'm sharing an abbreviated version of what my submission was to the committee to be respectful of the time constraints. Mr. Chair and esteemed members of the Education Policy Committee, my name is Tanya Prince. I am Vice Chair of ISD 279 Osseo Area Schools Board of Directors. I'm here today to speak on behalf of concerned residents and families in my school district and community and concerned board members across Minnesota. The Education Code of Minnesota states the public schools of the state shall serve the needs of students by cooperating with the students' parents and legal guardians to develop the students' intellectual capabilities and life work skills in a safe and positive environment. It defines the duties of school boards as the board must superintend and manage schools of the district, adopt rules for their organization, government and instruction, keep registrars and prescribe textbooks and courses of study. I'm here today to testify that the proposed changes under SF 3567 under the language of book banning prohibited is an unprecedented departure from parent cooperation and the legislatively defined duties of school boards. Under state law, school boards have been intentionally set up to ensure local decision-making for policies and procedures of curriculum and instructional materials, including school library books. SF 3567 would strip school boards across the state of Minnesota of their clearly defined duties, remove critical local oversight and accountability to parents and constituents, and concentrate decision-making power into a single unelected and unaccountable staff member. Second, SF 3567 uses inflammatory and divisive language to imply that current establishment of content selection criteria and standards and the enforcement thereof constitutes book banning. Across Minnesota, school boards are reviewing and updating school library policies, selection standards, and criteria to ensure viewpoint diversity, academically enriching content, and engaging subjects to cultivate a love of learning and reading. They are doing so while engaging families, constituents, and staff in these important discussions to create consensus on policies, standards, and procedures to ensure high standards of age appropriateness, emotional development, social and emotional intellectual development of students for whom these materials are selected. Forcing the collection management parameters in SF 3567 silences these critical community conversations and replaces them with subjective and vague language that offers no standards or criteria. Throughout our work in education, standards has always been the hallmark of achievement and exists to set expectations for excellence and to, quote, encourage learners to reach their maximum potential as stated in the Education Code's mission of public education in Minnesota. Local standards and policies for public school libraries is aligned to this goal. Finally, the language and parameters under SF 3567, book banning prohibited, is in part redundant and unnecessary due to the Supreme Court ruling in the Board of Education v. Pico 1982 regarding viewpoint discrimination. But more concerning is that it's actually in conflict with the Supreme Court's finding that upheld school board authority to set consistent library collection standards and selection criteria. Justice Brennan, with Justin Marshall and Justice Stevens, concluded, local school boards have broad discretion in the management of school affairs, and petitioners possess significant discretion to determine the content of their school libraries, but that discretion may not be exercised in a narrowly partisan or political manner. The language of SF 3567 only considers one component of case law and curiously, explicitly excludes the appropriate role of school boards to apply standards and oversee this critical area of the management of their school district. Amid declining achievement in Minnesota, I implore the committee members to rethink this legislation and reaffirm the statutory duties of Minnesota school boards while also empowering local communities to have a voice and participate in the processes that govern their local school board policies and apply to their children. I thank you for your time and consideration of my testimony.
Thank you. Ivana Stark.
Chair and members of the committee, I'm Ivana Stark, and I'm a Fridley School Board member representing the Fridley School Board and the Superintendent in support of Senate File 3567. At Fridley Public Schools, we are a world-class community of learners. We aim to develop internationally minded students. We challenge ourselves and our students and our community to become caring and knowledgeable lifelong learners who require and take action to create a better world. Our mission is to guide students in the development of learning skills to help them reach their full potential. I am here specifically in support of the language to prohibit book banning. Book bans shrink the worldview for students and stalls their ability to learn about new cultures and ideas. It stunts our growth as a community and as Americans. The push to ban books across the country is a threat to diversity of thought. We must view these efforts through a global and historical lens. In the past, efforts to ban books occurred in order to manipulate, control, and defeat entire groups of people. A few notable flashpoints in history include South Africa banning Black Beauty in 1965 because it challenged apartheid. Germany banned anti-German books in the 1930s. The Dark addresses Irish Catholic Church sexual abuse, and that was banned. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison has been in the top 10 list of banned books since it was published in 1970, simply because it questions social standards of beauty related to race, class, and gender. The list goes on, but they all fall in the same bucket of people in power seeking to protect that power by banning books. These national battles are being fought and funded at the local level. These politically motivated acts of censorship are used to exclude children from feeling like they belong. This new generation of books on the chopping block share stories about acceptance of gender identities, the history of segregation, slavery, and violence against people of color. In other words, there's a move to silence our story of our country. The role of the school board is simple. We are a governing body meant to hire and oversee the superintendent and manage the budget responsibly. It is not, nor should it be, the role of a school board to dictate curriculum content or take the power to educate our students away from our teachers and library media specialists. While the board holds the responsibility to approve curriculum materials, that does not mean that the board has the right to co-opt what those materials say. Our role is to approve the materials in the budget and ensure they align with the policies we have in place and the graduation standards set by the Department of Education. School boards are governing bodies, not management bodies, and banning books is a management move. A board banning books is inappropriate overreach and harmful to the students we're sworn to support. Thank you.
Caitlin Snyder.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Caitlin Snyder. I am a lobbyist with Education Minnesota. In interest of time today and being the last thing keeping you from leaving this room, I'm going to focus on one section of the bill, and that's the changes to special education licensure. In prior testimony, Mr. Schaefer shared a partial timeline of what has brought us here today, addressing our Tier 1 and Tier 2 teachers in special education. In reality, this timeline started in 2017 when the legislature passed a tiered licensure system that does not require our special education teachers to have training in special education before they work with our kids with needs. It started in 2018 when the MDE started saying in statements in assurances of compliance to the federal government that we were meeting federal OSEP requirements that teachers have training in special education in order to serve our kids. That was 4 commissioners ago. I'm happy to be here today and to see this issue addressed by the joint language from the Department of Education and PELSB. Prior to the letter in March, which Mr. Schaefer referenced, there was also a letter to all 50 states last year in in fall of 2022. And at that time, Education Minnesota and folks like myself reached out and said that this was an issue that needs to be addressed. I was quoted in the Pioneer Press delivering remarks to PELSB saying, "Holding your breath and hoping the parents of kids on IEPs are too uneducated to sue our state is not a strategy." Unfortunately, that motion died, and so we are here today updating this language, bringing forward an updated proposal to make sure that our special education teachers are serving our kids with knowledge and have a knowledge about what an IEP is. An IEP is a legal document between a school district and families. It outlines the requirements that need to be provided to our students. We are seeing disproportionately that Tier 1 teachers in special education are the #1 most disciplined class of teachers by PELSB, and this is because they're being set up to fail. They're not being given the training that they need to succeed, so I'm happy to see these changes move forward at the legislature. If you would like to strengthen the language, you could add a line that says that they not only are demonstrating progress towards professional licensure, but also are demonstrating the standards of effective practice. We need these teachers in order to stay in the classroom working with our students, but we also need them to be prepared for the legal and moral responsibilities of meeting our children's needs. Thank you.
Members, questions, comments? Senator Duck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. My question isn't for a testifier. It's just for you in relation to a letter from, it's in our packets, MSBA, AMSD, Minnesota Association of School Administrators, and a few other groups. We had a couple of testifiers here talk about the specific provision, Article 6, Section 2, and it says that they're encouraged, they've been talking with you and Chair Pryor in the House about language to find a consensus between our school boards and schools and administrators and what the governor's suggesting in the bill. So just curious how those conversations are going. Do you think we're likely going to end up sticking with what's in the bill, or is there room for improvement or conversation about what that language might ultimately end up looking like? Thank you.
Senator Kunesh, do you have an answer to that by chance? No? Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
I'm not sure what they're saying here.
Yep, that's okay. And I know I'm putting you on the spot, and that's not the intent. So if nothing comes top of mind, that's fine. I would just say this. When we first heard the bill, my suggestion to the folks that were presenting it and to you in the governor's office was that we should probably have additional conversation with those organizations to figure out the language, its impact, how it would be interpreted or utilized as it pertains to school boards and things of that nature. So I just want to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a situation where we didn't have those conversations with stakeholders or get feedback from those organizations before we potentially pass the law, while there's still time to have those conversations and potentially tweak or modify the language. Thank you.
We're working on the language. Anybody else? Senator.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that there's been some testimony. And this bill is much smaller scale than last year's, Mr. Chair, so it's, yeah. And there's the points that came up were not surprising. I think the comments from Ms. Prince are really valid. And I wish that there was, I talked to my district about this. We have a great process in place. And frankly, with all respect, the governor's bragging on Twitter about how he's banning book banning. And it's like I'm banning oxygen depletion in this room. I mean, it's like, I think the school board, if they have some language that makes sense, let's make this a constructive exercise. And if you, it's just, I'm not responding to the dog whistle, which they think we're all going to respond to, but I'm just responding to the idea that there are kids who can't read and do math, and we're laying off teachers, and this is the focus of the biggest contention of this hearing. Kids don't feel safe in schools, and the system all around us looks like the apocalypse for education after we spent $6 billion. And we all care about the outcome of our children and how they learn and what their future is going to be. For some of those students, even in my district, Mr. Chair, that future is not very bright because they're not getting over the first thresholds. And as you well know, there's a thing, I hope it's respectful to say, that when kids read by third grade, they have a much less chance of winding up in great harm's way in the future. And as a system, to the department, to whoever's trying so hard, we're not hitting that target. And instead we have a target that's just a political thing, and that's the big item in the bill. And further, this tier 2 thing, we talk about teachers not wanting to come into our systems. We have to make it easier so teachers want to come. In my district, we raised their basic pay to $50,000. Well, none of them are going to be working because there aren't going to be openings for first-year teachers this time. And so all the efforts we make to draw people into the system are pointless. And anyway, just to the department, make it work. To Education Minnesota, I'm a fan. Got to support teachers. We want to give them good retirement. It's got to work. To school board members, thank you for running and taking the heat. But at the end, it's on all of us. Here we are trying to do this, and let's just make these kids succeed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? Okay. Okay. The note to, that was written on my agenda is bills may be added. Please watch for agenda changes. Senator Duckworth. Wednesday? Wednesday. So, our next meeting will be on Wednesday, March 6th. The agenda has already been posted. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback today. We're adjourned.